Hey, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Pavithra, and this is a web series where I will be digging into the code base of Preact. I hope you enjoy this and learn something new from it.
So yeah, this is what we have. This is running my console log. Interesting error though, but it's not compatible with your version of React DevTools. Cool. I think I'll live with that for now. Something that I got to know between my last video and now is that micro bundle here is a bundler, just like Webpack and Rollup. I think this was written by the author of Preact, and I think its USP is again that it's really tiny, but that's all I know about it. So what I have running here is Webpack build for the demo. What render takes is a DOM. No, it takes the actual component tree that you've created and the DOM object where you want to place this component tree into. So in this case, we want to place the app component tree, which is basically all of the stuff that is being rendered here. Main, router and stuff, all of this stuff into the body of the index.html. Cool. So if I go into render here, so this is the actual render function that gets called, right? So it's calling the actual component tree as the virtual node. Okay, I guess that makes sense. It's the virtual equivalent of the actual component tree. This is the parent DOM. Cool, which is document.body in our case. And this is the replace node. Oh, interesting. I've never used this. Can you do this in React too? I wonder. So you want this node to replace this node in this tree. Wouldn't it already do that? Okay. So we go down the code and let's look at it. Seems like a small function. So what does it say? Options._root. Wow, can I provide options._root? What does this do? What is underscore root? Why does it take vnode and parent DOM? Wow, what does it do? Options, where do options come from? Options from options. I think this line means basically that if you want to give a customize the renderer, then feed it in the options, right? Okay, that's a mystery. So next line here is talking about what does it say? Let is let. Oh, are they going to change this in the future? Interesting. Okay, so let is hydrating equals replace node equals is hydrate. Wow, some globals here. Trying to understand. Oh, replace node is not an actual node. Oh my god, they're actually just sending a boolean. So let is hydrating. So it is said to be hydrating if the third parameter is a boolean, and not even a boolean actually. It's an empty object from a constant. Okay, it's an empty object. It's not a boolean, people. It's an element of text, so it's an empty object. So if that is equal to this, then is hydrating is true. So my understanding of hydrating is that it is going to somehow attach events on top of existing HTML that it receives from the server side, right? So let old v node, if is hydrating is true, then it will be null. There is no node to be replaced. So this is a logic where it's going to decide whether there is an older node that is to be replaced or not. So if there's replace node and replace node has children, or parent DOM has children. See, you don't even need to provide this. I don't understand. So if the parent DOM already has stuff inside it, it's going to replace those things. So but if it is hydrating, then it's not going to replace, which makes sense, right? It's not supposed to tamper with HTML inside because you just want it to hydrate. Takes v node here, does a create element, fragment, null, and v node, which is interesting. So I guess this is where it actually converts the whole component tree into an element that Preact can understand. I'm going to mark it with the star because it's a really important line. If we were to just look at this as pseudocode, then what it does, then we don't need to dive into the create element right now. Let's do that in the next step because there's only a little more, I hope, left of this function. So okay, it creates an element and replaces it into the same variable. Yeah, why use the same variable, right? Why lose that memory? Why lose the actual node here? I don't understand. Maybe that's part of its less code kind of thing. Do you think they use let because const is a longer keyword? I don't know. So let commit q. Okay. Interesting. This seems like a queue data structure of commits. What commits? I think commit means it replaces the actual HTML. So it actually writes down the HTML and causes the browser to repaint stuff. So I think that's what it means by commit. The next function seems like the money function of this whole library, if you ask me. So it says diff. So interesting. What does diff do? Why isn't it returning anything? So on the surface, it looks like it's putting stuff into the commit queue, and the commit queue is then being used by commitRoot to do something. So it takes the parent DOM. So in our case, we've given document.body. If his hydrating is true, then the second parameter. Oh, what? I mean, why even pass this as a parameter, right? Are you passing underscore children as a parameter here? So I'm thinking this should be the same as this, this. Okay, so something like this. Like this, and then you go vnode, and then you pass this here. Okay, I'm assuming that's what's happening. So old vnode. You don't want it to be null, is it then? Why is this null? Shouldn't this be empty object? And this goes away. Could this be null? Could this be null? Is that what this does? Children of object. Okay. So parent DOM owner SVG element is not equal to undefined. Wow, it's a boolean. Owner is SVG element not equal to undefined. So I'm thinking it says is in SVG this. This is interesting, you know. They put things in an array here while creating an element. They kind of wrap the I wonder why. So here also they do that, else it's equal to old vnode. Old vnode. This is why they didn't want this, right? If this is not, oh my god, okay, you can be null. You can come here, come back here. There's always a reason for everything, you know that. Is this empty object? There is always empty object. So we know this is what we call double tertiary. So it's saying that this value is if this is present, then this should be null. Else it should be, so if this is null, then empty array slice. Wow, this is some array. What does this do? What? I think it's a deep copy making mechanism of some kind. Okay, commit q, which was an empty array, is sent into it. If replace node is present, I don't know, replace node is sent in so many ways, kind of. So it's sent as children here, children are sent here, sent here, sent this or this. What if it's an empty object? Oh yeah, it could be an empty one, but okay, what if it doesn't exist? You got to do that. Is hydrating is again sent here. Cool. So diff takes a bunch of stuff. There's only 3 things in this function that you want to go deep into. So I'll go to createElement, see how that works. Then I go to diff, see how that works. I go to commitRoot and see how that works. I'm assuming each of them will be complicated and have their own logic of how things happen.
If you had any thoughts, please leave a comment at the bottom. I really appreciate you spending your time on this. Until next time, bye.